We are getting the biggest change in Hearthstone's history. This is the very first time that a card, instead of being changed or nerfed in any way, is just going to be deleted from a format. So for those of you guys who have not heard the news, apparently Hearthstone has announced that Stealer of Souls is no longer going to be playable in Wild. It is straight up banned from the format. That's right, we have our very first banned cards aside from like Whizbang and other like weird token cards that have like some kind of like weird random effect. This is the very first Hearthstone card that is just straight up nuked from a format, but there's a lot of things that come into this decision, and there's a lot of implications that they can have for the future. So let me go ahead and walk you guys through what I'm looking forward to with this change to Stealer of Souls, because there's a lot of things to keep in mind with this change. So first and foremost, what you guys should be thinking about is that this can be used in the future towards other problematic cards. And the biggest reason why this is really, really important is because now Stealer of Souls can still see play in Standard and cannot see play in Wild, and that is the big distinction. Stealer of Souls is not really that good in Standard right now. I don't really know the statistics, but I've seen maybe one player by the name of Funky Monkey who really highlights off-meta deck decisions really take advantage of this card, and maybe Orange on the first day when this saw play. But ever since then, I have not seen this card see play in Standard. However, in Wild, it is the complete opposite. It's overrun the meta. Like, it's not that this deck is bad or that it's good. It's the fact that it feels terrible to go up against it. And I really believe that this deck needed to be dealt with very similarly to how Darkest Hour Warlock, how Starliner Druid, and how Turtle Mage used to be these really not necessarily powerful decks, but very unfun and very uninteractive to go against. And so, since we're getting rid of this card from Wild, it's keeping it in Standard, and that's just really what needs to happen. If you were to nerf this card, it's going to make it not necessarily unplayable in Wild, but it's going to make it even more unplayable in Standard. And that's really the thing that I feel like a lot of people need to realize with this change, is that if there's really no better option than just to remove it, then why even go through the trouble of changing its mana cost to the point where it just will not see play anyway? If the point of this change is to get rid of the card so that way it's no longer plaguing Wild, like then there's no reason for its Standard counterpart in order to suffer for that. But like I said earlier, one key thing to keep in mind is the fact that this may be used in the future in order to help out with the design space. Like if there's just one card that's just completely plaguing Standard or completely plaguing Wild, maybe they'll just get rid of it like they did with Stealer of Souls and make it to where the other format can still make some kind of weird text or weird deck decisions in order to highlight these cards. Because the other thing that Blizzard did announce is that, actually this came from Alec Dawson, that once the card rotates, it's going to be coming back to Wild. So the card's not necessarily being nuked from the format forever. It is coming back, and it will be coming back once everything gets rotated out, and there is something to keep in mind here. Hearthstone game designers work on each expansion about a year before they're actually released, and you guys can find out that information in my most recent podcast with Cora and Liv, some of the game designers for Hearthstone. And one thing that they said is that they're currently working on the second set of next year. So they literally know the next cards that are coming. They know these next few expansions and what might be able to be possible, and they can feel pretty confident saying that Stealer of Souls may not be as problematic when it does rotate into the Wild scene. So this really does raise the question, what is going to come in the future? Are there going to be other problematic cards that have to leave the format because something like this is enabled? And does this mean that if more archetypes like this emerge, are they going to be able to be dealt with as soon as possible? Because Tiller OTK and now this combo have been dealt with pretty swiftly from Blizzard's side, so I definitely want to give them credit where credit is due. Because, I mean, a lot of people were probably upset that there was quote-unquote radio silence or whatever, or some kind of, like, miscommunication or no communication from Blizzard, but that was just because, unfortunately, Alec and Ixar were on vacation, so I think that was just a bad time, a bad situation that just occurred at the worst possible time for them. But regardless, we have amazing changes. We might see this play in effect in the future in case we have any other problematic cards that arise as soon as the launch happens. And I really do believe that this is a healthy thing for Hearthstone. Stealer of Souls really just needed to leave the meta, though. Unfortunately for Wild, like, it just completely plagued the format. And it wasn't necessarily that the deck was that powerful, but just, again, it felt terrible to go up against. Like, unfortunately, like, I've been seeing a lot of this Warlock deck on ladder. Either that, or I just see nothing but aggro. Like, literally the entire meta feels like it's either geared towards countering this specific deck or playing this specific deck. And something else that I really need to highlight with this particular style of combo and deck is that literally, like, I did an entire stream where I was trying to pop off a turn 4 raw OTK where you play a bunch of Mogus, you play facelesses and cubes and yada yada yada. But the point is, like, you're doing it with the Stealer of Souls combo, but as soon as I were to like pop off this combo on like turn 4, regardless of what I was doing, my opponents sometimes would just immediately concede because they don't even want to deal with the opportunity or the chance that this is going to happen to them. They'd rather just move on. They'd rather just move on to the next deck, and that's not healthy. This deck definitely needs to go, and I think that deleting it just straight up is actually one of the best ways of being able to accomplish that. But what do you guys think of these changes? Because I think that this is not necessarily something that everybody agrees with. There's a lot of people that believe that wild is wild and you should let these cards stay and that there shouldn't be any kind of ban list. And I can kind of understand that type of sentiment. But if you want my honest opinion, wild isn't necessarily wild because there are cards that have been changed in order to keep it somewhat balanced, and it's not like it's a free-for-all mode. I would actually think that's a different conversation for another day about a possible format or a possible mode where you can literally just play Hearthstone, everything's unnerfed. Everything is the way that it was originally made when it first was released onto the game. I think that'd be a pretty interesting game mode, but for Wild specifically, you have to be able to curb these combos because it is going to cause people to either straight up leave Wild or even leave Hearthstone altogether, so you have to deal with these toxic, problematic cards. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and if you guys agree with these changes, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel for even more updates because, again, I 100% agree with everything that was done here. Maybe there's a few nuances that you guys don't agree with, but feel free to let me know in the comments below, and I'd love to chat with you guys about it. But until then, I'm going to have some fun trying to get this this Highkeeper Raw combo before this card is no longer available in Wild. So feel free to spam your your Stealer of Souls combo until it's gone next Wednesday. Hope you guys enjoyed this take on why I believe that this change was actually a good thing for Hearthstone, and we'll see you for the next video.